Welcome to Uncaged, a show that celebrates thought leadership from today's top business leaders. The program provides a voice to amazing executives from around the globe who are shaping the world of business today and mapping the path to the commerce of tomorrow. Today, we're speaking with Navin Kunde. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me, Bant.
I'm excited to talk to you. I also love the topic of innovation. Navin is the head of open innovation at the Clorox company. I don't know if the Clorox company needs much introduction. I think if you don't know who the Clorox company is, you perhaps have been living in a box for many, many years. But Clorox company owns and it built amazing trusted brands, including Brita, Burt's Bees, Clorox, Fresh Step, Glad, Hidden Valley, Kingsford, Liquid Plumber, Pine Sol, Rainbow Light, and on and on and on. It's been a business that was founded in 1913 and has grown ever since. And we'll talk more about how Navin and his team are pushing Clorox to the next level. But before we get there, tell us a little bit about yourself and your career.
Thank you. I grew up in India. I'm from a business family in India, and I decided to go to engineering school and went to the IITs because I wanted to just get the heck out of India. It wasn't the India it is today back in the 70s and 80s when I was growing up, and came to the US, followed the usual path, graduate school, working. I worked in the aerospace industry, green card, MBA, consulting. A lot of people follow that path. But then I found my calling when I was a consultant. I was at the corporate executive board, and I was working in their strategy and innovation practice. And that's when finally my juices started flowing. I was like, wow, this is exciting, interesting. You can't rest on your laurels. Strategy needs to shift all the time. Innovation is something that you can use to topple the big giants, and you got to stay on top and continue innovating yourself if you want to stay relevant. And I just loved that space. And specifically open innovation, which is like a subset of innovation, which totally was in sync with my personal values. Open innovation is this idea that someone somewhere else is better, smarter, cheaper, faster than you are. And you are much better off partnering with them, listening to them, learning from them than just trying to do it all yourself. And I love that.
Yeah. So tell me, Navin, I mean, I like that model a lot, because we all know that, companies like Clorox have been innovative for generations, and certainly that's been a key part of why it's such a successful company. But open innovation seems like it's a relatively new and growing concept. Tell me more about how that works for the Clorox company.
Yeah, so open innovation is a relatively new concept. Partnerships with suppliers and other ecosystem partners have been around for a long time, but this concept was first popularized by Henry Chesbrough, who's at Berkeley, in 2004. And that's when I started working on it as a consultant. And then I really loved it because you need a curiosity and a level of humility to even embrace that concept. And the way Clorox company did it was because Clorox is about a tenth of the size of the big competitors like Procter and Unilever. They realized they couldn't go, punch for punch with these guys. But if we partnered with our suppliers, some of whom are huge, like Dow Chemical or BASF, we could compete with them. And so this idea that the world is your innovation lab, or the world is your R&D lab, and you're better off framing up the consumer challenges and not getting too stuck up in the idea or the insight or the product has to come from us, but we can do it in partnership with somebody else, was what made open innovation tick at Clorox.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that idea. Yeah. And it's such a fascinating kind of moment in the world as cycles of business can continually accelerate and demand more new ideas, more innovation. It seems like open innovation is a great concept to keep pace and embrace those opportunities. How is it manifesting itself with you guys? What are some of the things coming out of the work that you guys are doing?
So in the beginning, the open innovation concept was mostly applied to suppliers, like I talked about, and the usual suspects like universities. About 20 years ago, we did this giant joint venture with Procter and Gamble, which is a big competitor. That's in a
Mhm.
way a JV is like an open innovation as well. Like they're sharing their technology, we are sharing our market and
Right.
business knowledge. You're building a business together. But now it's more and more about startups. And we saw the startup wave coming maybe 10, 12 years ago. There was more and
Yeah.
more financing going that way. And you've got thousands and thousands of startups. You can't keep track of them all. So you can use them for inspiration. You can use them to learn because 900 of them are going to fail and the 100 who succeed are going to disrupt you. You have to think about also possibly partnering with them, acquiring them. But in general, you cannot ignore them, right?
Right.
And so startups are a big part of our open innovation ecosystem now. And that's
Cool.
where we are investing in everything from just knowledge management of who's out there. Why are they working on X? Why is somebody spending sleepless nights, a precarious 401k plan, and all kinds of stuff to work on an idea? What makes them believe in it so strongly? i
Yeah.
want to I want to understand that. I don't want to ignore that. And
Right.
so as an organization, Clorox is evolving to paying close attention to not just our usual ecosystem partners like suppliers and universities and so on, but also startups.
Does that mean that you would partner with them, invest in them? How do those relationships
we,
establish and develop?
we could potentially invest in them, but mostly it is the way we engage is learning from them and partnering with them. A
Okay.
lot of times it's early stage partnering to bring a technology to market.
Hmm.
We have access to the market, to the consumers,
Right.
or often they have the technology. So, when I talked earlier about we partnered with the suppliers to like Dow Chemical, BASF, et cetera, to bring the technologies. Those are massive companies. But now a lot of the technologies are coming from these tiny startups.
Right.
It's the same concept. We'll take your technology to market to see if it can hunt. Um, the consumer doesn't care what deeply goes into their product. They want the product to do what they want, be on shelf at a price point that they can, afford, and do the job that they are trying to get done. And so we are mostly using startups as partners. Occasionally we invest in them. Occasionally we buy them, but mostly in a partnering setup.
That's great. Now, I mean, I think of innovation as such an interesting topic for the Clorox company in particular. Really, when I think about what's happened over the last couple of years, I, like every other customer out there, probably purchased hundreds, if not thousands, of your products during the pandemic,
Thank you.
as
Thank
as
you.
as we were all panicked. And Clorox had one of the few products that was basically given the seal of approval by folks. So there was a moment really where your products were moving extremely quickly, and I can only imagine that may have created a ton of challenges, probably from a supply chain perspective, I
Mm.
imagine. But then the other side of it is, I feel that the pandemic required just a level of innovation across the board. So many companies suddenly opened their minds to the idea of new things because they were worried that the old way that they were doing things suddenly might not be relevant in a post-pandemic society. And so it's kind of interesting. I'm just curious how that touched your world. This idea of our product is so successful, we really don't need to do anything. We can just sit back and ride this one, but probably it's stressing the system, right?
Mhm, mhm.
And then at the same time, there's this opportunity, because I feel like the way I sometimes describe it, I think it's the voice in the boardroom of every major company around the world that always said no to innovation suddenly was silenced during the pandemic. That person was finally ignored because everyone went, we got to do something. We got it, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I mean, I'd just be curious to understand, your experience during that period and how it impacted what you guys were working on in open innovation.
Sure, I can talk to that a little bit. So you're right. A lot of the disruption that we felt, there was a huge spike in demand. A lot of the disruption was around supply chain, us not being able to meet some of the sudden skyrocketing of demand.
Yeah.
We did the best we could. We
Yeah.
quickly prioritized the part of our portfolio that was truly going to help with disinfection products and sort of deprioritized some of the cleaning products, which are just about cleaning and not disinfection because Clorox can do both. And then we also ran our factories 24/7 wherever we could, but with safety in mind. You cannot
Right.
put our employees at risk.
Right.
And we did the best we could, but then there's a lot of supply. The supply chain is global.
Yeah.
There are containers that are stuck overseas. There's
Yeah.
all kinds of challenges. There is a container ship that clogs up the Suez Canal. There's talk about being in a VUCA world, right? There's all kinds of stuff that our supply chain colleagues did a gallant job of fighting, but you only can do so much that's in your control.
Yeah.
And from an innovation perspective, a lot of our innovation is longer term. And so, we've already thinking about sustainability, making wipes compostable is,
Mm.
one charge that we have, thinking about reducing plastics.
Oh, great.
Some of those things are longer term. They don't suddenly go away because of the pandemic. They get paused a little bit sometimes because you're trying to keep your business going. But we continue working on them from an innovation perspective. We set our net zero goals, and our science-based targets goals and so on, and we're continuing to work towards those. So the innovation team that I lead, Band, supports the open innovation folks support every business unit at Clorox, including some corporate things like sustainability, digital transformation. And so if you think about Burt's Bees, what are the challenges Burt's Bees will face
Right.
versus what the cleaning business, which is taking off, right? And so in some cases, the businesses are doing really well. In other cases, they're struggling a little bit. And so you need to the best thing about Clorox is that something's always working. And the worst thing is that something's always not working. So you always have something to work on. And
Right.
that keeps us on our toes. And so the way I'll answer your question is the open innovation team is always laser focused on what is the problem the business needs to solve
Hmm.
and how do we quickly learn from the external world, from the consumer, from the customer. For us, customer is like Walmart, Amazon, Target, etc. And then from our internal, what's happening within the company, but also what are the competitors doing? You're right. The
Right.
competitive landscape was flooded with people who wanted to get to the wipes business. And that
Yeah.
actually put more of a stress on the supply chain because everybody wanted the wipes. So, there's things you plan for, and there are other things you just deal with as they come along.
Yeah, it's a really interesting, and I think you kind of hit on something that I was gonna ask you a bit more about, but certainly you guys are tracking some broader trends, and the Clorox company is making commitments in terms of its sustainability goals. And it does seem to me that like some broader business trends like that are shaping innovation. Tell me a little bit more about that type of work and what you're seeing in that space.
So we are always consumer led. And to the extent that the consumer deeply cares about the planet and building, having a sustainable planet, we are working towards those. There are some parts of our portfolio that use plastic, and we are trying to reduce that. There are
Right.
other parts of our portfolio that lead the way in being green. Burt's Bees is a prime example. So where can we learn internally from within the different business units?
Hmm.
But some of these things are not challenges we can solve on our own. It
Right.
has to be done across the industry, across the supply chain. 95% of our carbon emissions are scope 3, and they come from our supply chain. So a lot of the effort has to happen through our product supply organization,
Yeah.
and then R&D. We are trying to track what is the carbon footprint of any new product that we put out there. Is it better than than what we are replacing it with? How do we even measure that? Is that consumer acceptable? And so on. So we are doing what we can to get better. This
Yeah.
is not going to happen overnight, but we are making progress every year
Yeah.
towards some of our SBT goals. And the eventual goal of getting to net zero. I'm not the expert in that space. We have a lot of people within the corporate center for sustainability
Yeah.
that can talk to that better than I can.
Yeah.
But from an open innovation perspective, I have one person dedicated to supporting all sustainability related projects within the company, because a lot of the work is happening outside of our company, and
Right.
we need to learn. We talked about startups earlier. There's a tons of startups that are working on things from mechanical recycling to chemical recycling. There are a lot of people working on bio-based resins, for example. But some of these things, they don't work. You may want them to, but they don't work as effectively as you want. And so can you imagine a Glad trash bag that is made from bioresin, mushrooms, let's say, but you put trash in it and it collapses? That's not cool. The
Right.
consumer wants it to work. So
Right.
so trying to find that balance is really what we work towards. But we are staying on the leading edge and cutting edge of what's going on so that we can actually innovate. It's not
Yeah.
just ideate and invent, but innovate is where you take it to market
Yeah.
and you build a business out of it. And
Yeah.
that's what I love about innovation. I come from a business family. As I said, it's about building a business for the future, not just inventing a bunch of things that may not lead themselves to um, you know applications in real life.
Yeah, I would imagine that probably one of the filters you have to run your ideas and innovations through is this a good one? Is this effective? And then is it scalable, right? I mean, is it because the Clorox company doesn't play just locally, right?
Now, is it scalable? Is it profitable?
Yeah.
Is it something that we can build a sustainable business on? Is there a business model that's compatible with our existing business models, or do we need to learn from somebody else? And that's another place that our team plays, is we rapidly can learn from others. Going back to that open innovation concept of being humble and curious, you say, listen, there is this a new way of doing things. I don't know how to do it, but I can learn. And that's what growth mindset is all about, right? You
Yeah.
say, I don't know, but I'm going to learn. And who do you turn to when you want to learn? You turn to the open innovation team.
Right.
And they say, hey, guys, can you help me learn about X, whatever it might be? And then we'll help them learn about it. And then they can decide how that is fitting in with their operations, with the business, with the profit model, because it's not just about product market fit. You're a startup CEO,
Yeah.
it's not just about product market fit. You still need to build a team, a management team. You need to build the ops, you need accounts receivable, and all the boring stuff that people never pay attention to, and build your operations of the company to build your profitable business.
Yeah, I didn't even think about the operations side of it, but that's absolutely critical and how to do that effectively. Well, Navin, I mean, we've been covering a ton of stuff. I mean, here we are, 2022, looking into 2023 now. What does the near future look like for you guys?
I think the near future, I'm just very focused right now on this idea of, I'm seeing more and more that the challenges that we are facing as a society, as a planet, whether it's business challenges, or whether it's planetary sustainability type challenges, are not ones that can be solved by any one team or any one company, or sometimes even any one nation or industry.
Right.
And there is this massive need for collaboration, which is what gives me a lot of energy being in the open innovation space. I mean, once I came across open innovation in consulting, like 15 years ago, I stayed in it because I love the space, and there's so much you can do. No matter what the problem, you can find somebody to partner with, learn from, collaborate to solve the meaningful problems you choose to focus on. And the near future looks bright because we have the processes, we have a really good staff, people who understand how to collaborate and listen to what's happening elsewhere, and then partner with them.
Right.
And only when we partner with others on problems that are complex and truly matter, and it has to be a give and take. Both parties have to win, and it takes time
Right.
and patience, which is not always given to us, but we plug away at the problems long term. And that's what the future looks like. I think some of these challenges sustainability and others that we've talked about. There's another pandemic coming. We don't know where it's coming from, but it'll be there. You see the gap between the pandemics getting shorter and shorter over the
Yeah.
years. It was Zika a few years ago during the football World Cup
Yep.
in Brazil. Before that, it was MERS. Before that, it was SARS-2. Before that, it was SARS. I mean, and then back in the 90s, I don't remember a lot of pandemics. And now it's getting shorter and shorter, right? So this concept of collaboration, and from that, I'm doing a lot of thinking around inclusion and inclusion-focused innovation.
I was looking at that today, Navin. I mean, the two concepts, I think that's almost self-explanatory. Inclusion-focused innovation, embracing kind of an inclusive solution from different shareholders, different communities, racially, geographically, socioeconomically. It's an incredible idea. And then the idea of a solution-oriented collaboration approach is, I listen to you and I really am excited because it's such a positive take on that issue at a time when perhaps some people feel maybe we're not as collaborative as we should be. But you're absolutely right. We have to find a way to collectively solve these really big, hairy, audacious challenges that we face together.
Absolutely.
And it sounds like you guys are working on that. Navin, it's been amazing having you on the Uncaged show today. We've been speaking with Navin Kunde. He is the head of open innovation at the Clorox company. Navin, if someone wanted to reach you, where should they find you and learn more about what you and your team are working on?
You can reach out to me on LinkedIn. It's Navin Kunde. There's only one Navin Kunde that I know of. That's me. Easy to find. I'm on Twitter. And you can also contact me at the Clorox company, naveen.kunde@clorox.com. Yeah, but the LinkedIn is probably the easiest way to get hold of me. So yeah, connect with me, and happy to talk more. And I have a lot of passion for inclusion and belonging, because without that, we are not going to innovate. Without everybody bringing in their full self and sharing their doubts and their energy and all of that, we are not going to be able to solve society's problems or any company's problems. So happy to talk more at length on those topics.
Wonderful. Well, Navin, thank you so much for joining us today, and we look forward to having you back.
Thank you so much, Ben.
Cheers.
Thank you.